order the meeting of the Butler County Board of Commissioners. Please rise for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would ask that you remember one of our great servants in Butler County, Major Thibault of the Salvation Army, who passed away Sunday. He was only 57 years old, but he's done a lot for Butler County, so please remember his family. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any public comment?
Yes, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The public comment portion of our meeting provides residents and taxpayers of Butler County a reasonable opportunity to comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which are or may be before the board prior to taking official action. Presentations must be limited to 3 minutes. The chairman has asked me to remind everyone that no personal attacks on the character or reputation of county employees, department heads, or any official will be tolerated. Any speaker doing so may be ruled out of order by the chair. I'll call the names in the order that they appear on the sign-up sheet, and when you come to the podium, please state your name and your municipality of residence. Charles Clark.
I would emphasize what the chief clerk said. If you have items that is going to be business before the county on this agenda or in the future agenda, that's what we're looking for. Other items that do not pertain to business of the county, you'll be ruled out of order.
Okay. My name is Charles Clark. I reside in Adams Township. I am one of the petitioners that is asking for the referendum on the ballot in Adams Township, which you will be discussing in item number 7 of your agenda today. I have learned that a similar initiative was introduced and passed in Center Township in 2012. And as a function of that passing, the Center Township supervisors sued the Election Bureau and Butler County, looking to have that referendum, after it had been decided, basically thrown out. I know that it went to a local judge, and the local judge did in fact rule that the referendum question was unconstitutional, and that the citizens of Center Township then filed a King's Bench appeal to the Supreme Court, whereupon they were told that they did not have standing. It was not that the Supreme Court agreed that it was an unconstitutional referendum. The Supreme Court basically told them that only the Election Bureau in Butler County could challenge that verdict. The same solicitor that worked in Center Township is the solicitor for Adams Township, and at the last Adams Township supervisors meeting, I learned that they intend to challenge the referendum being on the ballot on constitutional grounds. If you allow this question onto the ballot, then the electorate of Adams Township is fully expecting that you will defend it, at least through the first level of appeals, to ensure that the constitutional question is valid in the event that they make that request and that the judge decides to rule that question as invalid. Or if it is allowed onto the ballot and it passes, again, the electorate of Adams Township would be looking to the Election Bureau in Butler County to support that referendum. If you are not going to be willing to do that, then clearly there's no point in putting that onto the ballot because it would be a waste of taxpayer time and money. We have submitted a similar letter to the Election Bureau that states that. The only other thing I'd like to say is, in the event that that happens and this goes through or it is removed from the ballot, this will create a statewide precedent and it will eliminate the only mechanism currently under the law with which to reduce board sizes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments.
I'd like to say that to that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but the solicitor did rule on this at Monday's meeting, and he said it's the state law. We have to let this go up. Okay, that's the best of my knowledge. Bill can elaborate on that if he likes when I'm done. I'd like to say this too. Judge Jager, I believe, ruled on at Center Township that you could not. You have to let their terms run out through attrition. Okay, there was 5 commissioners, and he said you couldn't, there's no legal precedent for having them be
This
dismissed,
is not a dialogue.
through having them being dismissed out of office. They were elected to 6 years. You can't say they have 2 arbitrarily. I don't recall, I followed that case pretty closely, and I don't recall them saying you couldn't do it. You just couldn't throw them out of office. You had to do it through attrition. So, but anyway, our solicitor, hopefully Bill comments on this, but he said it's out of our hands and we're following state law.
Yeah, I would agree with what Commissioner Eckstein said. We are bound by, this isn't the Board of Commissioners action, this is the Election Bureau's action. And we are bound by state law, which says that if 5% of the registered voters in the township submit a petition, then we have to put it on the agenda. So, I'm sorry, sir, you've had your say, and that's our reply.
There are still 5 commissioners in Center Township, so passed, they did not let 2 positions disappear through attrition.
But I'm saying we did our job. We did what we have to do under the law. Okay, next.
James Eckstein.
Jim Eckstein, Butler Township. I'd like to speak about open and transparent government. Today, I had a booth at the farm show this past week. During my days there, I visited the cattle, sheep, and horse barns and 2 4-H events. I had a chance to personally speak with over 200 constituents one-on-one and had some very good input from the county government. 3 people inquired why I don't get along with the other 2 commissioners better and quit airing their dirty laundry in public. I call it the Butler Eagles playing nice in a sandbox to give their theory of government, which they promote on a regular basis. I would like to read a passage from the state law which was developed after the Nixon administration hearings in the 70s. It's the State Sunshine Law, Section 702, Legislative Findings and Declaration. Findings: the General Assembly finds that the right of the public to be present at all meetings of agencies and to witness the deliberation, policy formation, and decision-making of agencies is vital to the enhancement of the public functioning of the democratic process, and that the secrecy in public affairs undermines the faith of the public in government and the public's effectiveness in fulfilling its role in our democratic society. B, declarations. The General Assembly hereby declares it to be the public policy of the Commonwealth to ensure the right of its citizens to have notice and the right to attend all meetings of agencies at which any regular agency business is discussed or acted upon as provided in this chapter. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. I believe in the state law. The public should have input. I believe this is what our founding fathers envisioned in both our federal and state constitutions. My constituents gave me the honor of living the law by electing me, not as king or queen for 4 years, but as a voice to represent them. What an honor. I met over 200 people at the farm show, and 5% expressed they want a minority party lapdog as their next county commissioner who does not make waves. Let's say another 15-20% just didn't confront me on that view. That leaves a 75% approval rating with a plus or minus 5 points. Look, are the other 2 commissioners deliberating in public and on TV, or have they talked together behind closed doors? Do they give the public adequate time and free speech at these meetings, or have they severely restricted their time and content? Over the last 2.5 years, you have witnessed policy formation and decision-making in action, or merely witnessed Vladimir Putin's understudies. You make that decision. That's not my call. I believe in open, honest, responsive government. I thank those who gave me their thoughts, views, and opinions at this year's farm show. Thank you very much.
Next.
Peggy Abersold.
Good morning. Peggy Abersold, Middlesex Township. Back in May of 2013, the board voted to enter into an agreement for a new county website. On July 21st this year, 2014, the new county website went live. The county's website is at www.co.butler.pa.us. With Commissioner Eckstein's approval, I was given permission to request the public's input regarding the new website. What are your likes, dislikes, More importantly, what would you like to see to make it more user-friendly? Please contact me by phone at either 724-284-5102 or by email, which is on Commissioner Eckstein's webpage. We need to hear your input. These public meetings can also be accessed and viewed through Commissioner Eckstein's webpage on the county website under the YouTube link. Thank you.
Next.
Michael Baggins Canning.
I am Michael Baggins Canning from Cherry Valley. And I don't speak for any group, I speak only for myself. I'd like to quote from one of the foundations of our republic.
Sir, is this going to be about county business?
It absolutely is. I wouldn't waste your time.
Thank you. I appreciate
Does
that.
that come off my time?
No.
Okay, thank you. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing their powers in such a form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. The peoples of Adams and Middlesex have a right to a government that is, at the very least, responsive to their needs and respectful of their constitutional rights. That some of the residents want to dissolve a government that has for too long ignored their concerns and acted capriciously is demonstrated by the petitions that inform your actions today. I'm not going to read through the abuses of power delineated in the Declaration of Independence, but suffice it to say they have relevance to your discussion today because they are similar in nature. Let me dwell on one. Much has been made in the deliberations of both Adams and Middlesex about the protection of property rights. I don't think any one of the residents who are proposing changes to the government would want to deny anyone of their right to develop their properties as long as that development stays on their property. Unfortunately, to cite one example, shale gas developers have demonstrated over and over that they cannot control their noise, their fluids, their emissions, their truck traffic, their runoff, their spills, their light, or their disasters. Your right to develop your land ends at your property line. As has been asserted by several of the residents, the rights of present and future residents are being trampled. Article 1, Section 27 of the Pennsylvania Constitution states that people have a right to clean air, pure water, and to the preservation of natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. Pennsylvania's public natural resources are the common property of all people, including generations yet to come. As a trustee of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of the people.
That's time, sir.
Wow, that was good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, Diane Sight.
Diane Syke, Jackson Township. I'd also like to address the issue of the Adams and Middlesex referenda, regardless of your information about the solicitor's determination. I think it's important to note, as actually a resident of one of these southern tier townships that are rapidly developing, that there are issues of representation here. Representative democracies, including municipal democracies, necessarily contain mechanisms for checks and balances. When constituents feel excluded by virtue of who they are, i.e. new residents, newer residents, from the political process, they may have need of an extraordinary measure to ensure their representatives hear their voices. The referenda proposed for Middlesex and Adams Township fall in this category. I've personally heard statements being made about they moved in on them, you moved in on us. and similar things to indicate that they have less than full citizenship rights in these municipalities because they're new, they occupy newer developments. I expected to live in a rural atmosphere myself when my husband and I bought 22 acres in Jackson Township, a older farm. But in the last 25 years, things have radically changed, and many wonderful people have become our neighbors. Refusal to allow, well, you will allow a referendum. I just want to say that it's very good that you are going to let this referendum because it is going to impact all municipalities. There is precedent there. Thank you.
Thank you, and as we said earlier, we have no choice. Regardless of our personal beliefs, if a majority of the 5% of the people, the electors sign that petition, then we have to put it on the referendum. Anybody else?
And I'd like to say also, it's the people's will. I mean, that's a very good thing. It's the people's will.
Exactly.
It's not the commissioner. Excuse me. We have no say other than follow the law. Amy, anybody else?
Yes, E.T. Fullerton.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, E.T.
I'm a resident of Butler City, and as you know, I'm also an assistant DA here in Butler County, and I have the privilege of being board president for our newly formed nonprofit Child Advocacy Center. What I would like to speak to you about here this morning is, I'm not sure what agenda number it is, but Mr. Johns is going to be speaking to you about the request for increased staffing at Children, Youth, and Services here in Butler County. And on behalf of myself, both as in my individual capacity as a prosecutor and as the board president for the Child Advocacy Center, I'd like to stress for the board's edification, for your knowledge, to help you with an informed decision, how much the prosecution relies upon the hard work and the thorough work that the caseworkers and their supervisors do in children and youth here in Butler County. It would be an understatement to say that our police officers and our prosecutors rely on them a great deal. I don't know how to express how much we do rely on them. As you know, as a result of the unfortunate events in State College and Jerry Sandusky, our legislature, our society, our state became aware of how behind the times Pennsylvania had become in terms of identifying and responding to child abuse. And Governor Corbett appointed a blue ribbon panel, legislators, social workers, prosecutors, among others, who came up with a set of standards and recommendations as to how to proceed in the future with responding to allegations of child abuse. That generated a great deal of legislation that was signed into law by Governor Corbett at the end of December of last year and as recently as April of this year. Give or take 20 different pieces of legislation. What that has done for, I think, important impact here today is it has increased and expanded the definition of what we consider to be child abuse and who are to be what are known as mandated reporters. What that means to children and youth and to law enforcement is that there are going to be a great deal more cases coming forward. The folks that are on the front line of responding to those disclosures are in children and youth and in our local police department. They need the time to be able to respond appropriately to those disclosures. Our community needs them to have that time to properly respond. They're going to have more cases to respond to, and in order to give both the children that make these disclosures the appropriate time and attention that they require, as well as those people that are accused, it's vital that they have a thorough and timely investigation. With the increase in the expansion of the definition of mandated reporter and the expansion of the definition of child abuse, there's going to be an increase in the workload of those professionals that respond to child abuse. Part of that workload is going to be, it has been.
That's time, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, BT.
Please,
We
anything
appreciate
you
your
do.
comments. I think all three of us agree wholeheartedly that there's nothing more important than protecting our kids.
Thank you.
I'll second that. Okay, I absolutely agree with that. Thanks for coming.
Jeremy Maharski, and I apologize if I mispronounced that.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Jeremy Mahavke. I live in Evans City, PA. How you doing? My purpose of being here today is the sale of Lot B9 in Evans City for tax purposes. There seems to be some clerical misguidance or whatever you want to call it on the ownership of that property. I have leases, or not leases, but mortgages for mine in confusing deeds saying that I own that property. The county is saying that Mr. Schlegel owns it. Another party wishes to purchase that party or that property. But the problem is as I understand it, is that was supposed to be voted on today, and we just found out that we just got notification, and I've been working with Janet and Donna all morning and trying to get some of this taken care of last night, because there seems to be some back and forth of property shifts between 1964 and 1974 when properties were combined and recorded. There's been recordings that were wrong on the distances and places and stuff, so we're trying to work through that all at one time. So basically my request now is, due to this property sale, is seeing how I have actually buildings on that property because of my mortgage and property saying that that property belongs to me. I would at this time like to request the table of that sale until these dilemmas can be worked out. And should anything work out that it is a neutral piece of property, I would also like to put a bid in on that piece of property as well if the solution cannot be resolved. Because like I said, I have buildings that are on that property, physically on it. And if that sale goes through, it's going to be a real headache. So if there's some way that we can make some kind of arrangements to stall that or whatever, that would be greatly appreciated until we can work through the system and make sure everything's done properly and recorded correctly this time. So there just seems to be a multiple of typographical errors on parties through the years between 1957 and today. So we have to we need time to work through all that to make sure that everything's done appropriately, legally, and so that issues can be resolved.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to this. I'm going to abstain from this vote today, but I want to work out the problem with it. But make no mistake about this. This property was put in repository over 30 years ago. No taxes have been paid on this piece of property for over 30 years. Okay, I assure you, I need this property to get to my own property. I assure the community and the public, I did everything here by the book. I started talking with this with Ed Rupert 3 years ago. I noticed it was there. I'm paying the full price for taxes, delinquent taxes, from Seneca Valley High School, from Evans City Borough, and for the county for over 30 years. No action was taken in those 30 years. I'm not doing anything. I already got approval from Evans City Borough. I got approval from Seneca Valley. The only thing left is for the Butler County. But I'd like to assure the public, this is a 10-foot by 145 strip of property. We have over 400 of these in the county, in Butler County. We need to get them off the rolls, okay? But I'm doing everything above board here.
On the rolls.
To get them on the tax rolls. Okay, on the tax rolls. This is critical, critical. So, I don't know. I have to abstain on this by advice from the solicitor, Mike English, today, but I made sure that I did everything by the book on this. So, he's got a vinyl shed on this piece of property, which is obviously 3 foot on my property. Okay, obviously, a blind man could tell that. So all you have to do is look beside my house. His shed's on, vinyl shed's on there. It's a portable shed. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
I want to know on that.
Sir, that's it. You had your say.
Okay, I was just gonna say that Mr. Eckstein, you would give us a chance to straighten this out before it was done, even though Mr. Eckstein has done.
Sir, you're done, please.
Mark Krenitsky.
Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Commissioners. Elmina Park, just want to talk about that a little bit. I know we're spending 1.8 million, and I know we all think that's a lot of money to spend in the park, but it's a one-time fee, and I think it's worthwhile. There's a lot of good people who use the park. They spend a lot of money on jails and other human services that go to people that are causing problems in our community. Most people who use the park are not going to be causing problems, I don't think. I wanted to mention the Godly Trust plaques behind you, Jim, and I looked at them earlier. I think it's nice we put those up. I really do. I like that a lot. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, question, what was that figure you used on the we spent in the park?
I got 1.8 million. Now, where I get that is 1.1 on the pool, 1.1 million on the pool, 400,000 for the bathroom. I think it's a gold-plated toilet, but it's 400,000 per bathroom. Then 300,000 for the trail. And the parking lot is.
I'm not sure that figure's correct.
I may be off a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought the bathroom was higher than we wanted. We'll work on that, but I just didn't want you to spend money. It's bad enough. We're spending 1.1 million. We can, the part, that is not, that we tried to get a grant. So that has not been approved yet. The bathroom didn't cost that much. So I don't want people to call in and say, oh, you're spending 1.8 million. We're not. Okay, but we'll work on that, Mark, okay? Thank you very much for coming today.
Scott Rostovsky. Did you want to speak under public comment?
that was just-
Okay. Thank you. Crystal Yost. All right. Michelle Obid.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Michelle Obid. I live in Adams Township. I was very happy to hear the commissioners say that they feel that protecting children is very important. I belong to a group in Adams Township, a group of parents, and we've been very concerned about how the gas industry is encroaching upon our schools and our homes. But we understand where we live in Western Pennsylvania, and we understand the need to work together. We believe that a 2-mile zone around our
Ma'am,
kids.
is this about an agenda item?
Well, it was in reference to what you said about protecting the children being very
Well, we
important.
have no control over fracking or the distance it is from schools or anyplace else. So if you don't have anything to say about the agenda, I'm going to have to rule you out of order.
Oh, I don't want to be out of order, so I will, I will continue then with something related to the referendum that I just wanted to make public, out in the public. This Center Township in 2013 elected 2 new supervisors and has kept the number of supervisors at 5. If Butler County felt that the judgment required the township to reduce the number of its supervisors by attrition, then we would ask, why did the Board of Elections allow new positions to be placed on the ballot? The county has an obligation to the electorate to follow and defend the law, especially if the citizens have no standing to challenge. Reduction by attrition cannot work, as it will result in boards with 4 supervisors and does not address the staggering of terms. Thank you very much for...
Thank you for your comments. And again, I would articulate that we, like you said earlier, all we can do is follow the election code and the county code as advised by our solicitor.
Okay.
And we will do that.
Please look at our information regarding distances around schools and safety related to drilling.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to, we have an excellent, Sherry Brewer does an excellent job, a nonpartisan job with the election bureau. We're very proud to have her. And we'll work this out with the solicitor and Sherry Brewer. You know, we want to do everything. Nothing means more than this to me, you know, the doing right with the voters. So we're going to follow the letter of the law, and Sherry always calls the the state hotline, and we'll work out the problem, but we're gonna follow the law. You make, and we'll know what the law is too, okay? Thank you very much.
That's all for public comment.
All right, we have minutes from July 21st and July 23rd meetings. Is there a motion? I have a motion to approve these minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Under old business, sir, we do have an item tabled from July 23rd, and it's the consideration of a request from the Allegheny Aquatic Alliance for support of the Connoquenessing Creek cleanup. And here to make a presentation is Christina Hamlin from the Alliance.
Hi, Christina.
Good morning, Commissioners. So we had spoke before about being able to acquire Butler County for support with our cleanup. And we have spoke with Local Disposals and have learned that they are going to give us a discount for their disposal boxes of $1,350. So we are asking Butler County to help us pay for these services and dispose of this trash that we get out of the.
Okay, and then we're also going to furnish a truck and a driver, I believe.
Yes, please.
And Porta-Johns, is it? Okay. Do we have a approximate cost for the Porta-Johns and the?
Gary Pinkerton is working on that right now. He's ordering, we've requested 3 porta potties for the 15-mile stretch of the cleanup. And so I guess he's going to let me know what that cost is going to be.
And the dumpsters are 300 and something, I believe. There's
I believe so,
those?
please. And I believe there's 4 that Gary's able to support.
But they capped that at $13.50. Luckily, Vogel Disposal, that was very generous amount.
Vogel gave us a good price.
Just so that the people who don't understand what we're talking about, just give them an idea in the last couple of years, how many hundreds of tires and
Thank
hundreds
you.
of, just tell them, okay?
So in the last 2 years, we have focused on Connoquenessing Creek. In 2000, this waterway was rated the 2nd most polluted waterway in America. And over the years, flooding, illegal dumping, and just neglect and abuse have been done on this creek. So my organization, Allegheny Aquatic Alliance, formed the Connoquenessing Creek Cleanup Celebration. And in 2 years, in just 2 days of work, we have removed 85,000 pounds of garbage, including 900 tires from just 20 miles of this 50-mile waterway. So this year, we are focusing on another 15-mile stretch. We're going to be starting at the Butler Athletic Field in downtown Butler and moving 15 miles and ending at the Forward Township Baseball Field. So we definitely want to promote this cleanup and recruit some volunteers for it, because the more people that we have that day, the more garbage that we can remove. And volunteers will be meeting at 8 a.m. on August 23rd, so 2 Saturdays, at the Beacon Hotel, and that's 231 Beacon Road, Renfrew, PA.
And how do people volunteer? Can they call? Or
Yes, you can just come that morning, but I do prefer that you let me know if you are able to attend the cleanup. And you can contact me by phone at 724-371-0416 or email AlleghenyAquaticAlliance@hotmail.com. We also have a website at www.AlleghenyAquaticAlliance.com and a Facebook page.
And you guarantee the water's warm, they won't have to get the cold water?
You know, last Saturday I was out and it was perfect conditions. It was flat, it was low, and it was clear. So I know the last couple of days we've had some hit and miss of rain, and I'm just hoping that in 2 weeks we see the same water conditions.
Very slowly say your phone number again so that people can, if they want to write it down, they can.
My phone number, again, I'm Christina. You can contact me at 724-371-0416. And all volunteers will receive a t-shirt and lunch provided by Fox's Pizza of Zelienople. And we are having a celebration party afterwards starting at 5 o'clock. This is at 173 Brible Road in Renfrew. And volunteers will receive food from Moe's Southwest Grill and Z-Town Catering and live music from local bands.
I don't think any of us can say enough for what you folks do. I mean, it's just tremendous that you wade through the creek there and pull those old tires out, all kinds of garbage.
And, you know,
And how you get it organized and put together says a lot for your organizational skills. I'm very amazed at that.
thank you so much. You know, I appreciate it. I've been so inspired by the community to have the last two cleanups, 150 to 200 people come out that morning and work all day and put their heart and soul into removing the trash. It's very inspiring.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Do we have a 2,000 cap or something, or?
Well, it's, Gary's got that covered, so.
Oh, okay, the commodes, the
Yeah,
truck
it's all
driver.
taken care of.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, is
I'll
there,
make that motion.
okay, is there a second?
What?
That's okay.
You made it?
Yeah, I made
I'll
it.
second it. I apologize.
Any other discussion?
I'd just like to say this, I agree with Bill on this. See, people say we don't agree on anything. We're just happy as hell. I mean, I am so happy you're doing this. And you're very articulate, you spoke very well, and that's where I grew up. I grew up by Camp Red Wing, right beside the creek, and I canoed in there, fished in there, and I'm so happy with what you're doing, so.
Well, we focused on that last year, and this year we're going right through the same stretch, so.
Yeah, because the water was hot. So, thank you very much for doing this.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your support.
Thank
Those
you.
those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries.
And Commissioners, I might point out that the funds for this will come out of existing budgeted funds within Parks and Recreation, so there will be no additional funds to general fund.
Thanks, Amy.
We have no proclamations and certificates this morning. So the next item of business is under Election Board. The first item is approval to place the following referendum on the ballot for Adams Township. And this ballot would read as follows. Adams Township Supervisor Referendum. The purpose of this ballot question is to determine whether the Adams Township electors want the Adams Township Board of Supervisors to be reduced from 5 supervisors to a board of 3 supervisors. The proposed effect of the referendum is to reduce the Board of Supervisors from 5 to a 3-member board. Should the township return to a 3-member Board of Supervisors, yes or no? And here to present and discuss is Elections Bureau Director Sherry Brewer.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Commissioners.
Sharon.
As of Friday, the citizens that had filed the petition for the Adams Township referendum had submitted a letter of withdrawal for this petition. Therefore, at this time, I would ask to table that on the agenda for today until our council has some time to review that issue for the Adams Township referendum.
Okay. Is there a motion to table that?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, just to make this sure, well, I second it, but for discussion, they did it, they asked to table it?
Or the person who filed the petition has come in and asked to remove them.
They did a withdrawal.
And that is, that's kosher?
Well, due to some of the issues that they had raised earlier in the open comments, due to what happened in Center Township, they're asking to possibly withdraw because it could be appealed and overturned. So they asked to withdraw, so we need to have our legal counsel.
So we need to
finish.
table this until Mike can study it and see whether it's legal for them to do what they did.
Oh, okay, I understand. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
And the second item is approval to place on the referendum on the ballot for Middlesex Township. And the referendum reads, the purpose of the ballot question is to determine whether the Middlesex Township electors want the Middlesex Township Board of Supervisors to be increased from 3 supervisors to a board of 5 supervisors. The proposed effect of the referendum is to increase the Board of Supervisors from 3 to a 5-member board. Should 2 additional supervisors be elected to serve in this township, yes or no?
Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sherry.
Thanks for explaining that, Sherry.
Under new business, the first item is the District Attorney's Office. Scott Roscoski.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, Scott.
We're asking for your authorization to apply for the Rights and Services Act funding, the RASA grant. It's in our office. It's a continuation of a grant that we've had for a number of years. It's a 2-year grant. It employs 1 full-time staff member and represented another staff member. And the grant is used to be an advocate to the person for victims of adult and juvenile crimes. And they also assist with victims with their restitution issues that they may have with the courts. And again, they're an advocate for victims going into the courtroom. And so this, the amount of money is through the grant we received through PCCD, the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. And the total amount of the grant is for $164,982, and it's for a 2-year grant starting January 1st of 2015 and ending 2016 to December 31st. And again, as a continuation, we're asking for approval to apply for the grant.
Is there a motion to allow Scott to apply for this grant?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Discussion? In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Scott.
Next, under Emergency Services, Steve Bicehouse.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Steve.
Today I'm here to ask for your approval to enter into a grant agreement with FEMA for the Emergency Management Performance Grant. This grant is given to the state by the Department of Homeland Security, and it is to be used for 50% salary and benefits for 2 positions within the county. One of them, the Emergency Management Coordinator position, and as you recall, previously it used to be the Clerk Typist 2 position. We asked for that position to be changed to Emergency Planner. That was approved, although we didn't receive official notice. That's what these 2 positions are approved for. Total grant amount, it's a 50% matching grant. Total grant amount award will be $93,233. Grant period will run from October 1st, 2013 to December 31st, 2014. We're always a little bit behind. So I ask for your approval on that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
I'd like to say this. I'd like to thank Steve for working this problem out. These are, well, one position's his, but we both know how critical Amy Marie and Steve's positions are. And I thank you very much for working this problem out.
Thank you.
It's in Butler County's best interest, okay?
Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
I ask permission to be approved to be dismissed to attend another meeting.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Get back to work.
Next, under Facilities and Operations, John Campbell.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, John.
Today I'll be asking for your approval to enter into a proposal with AGX for limited air quality screening in the courthouse basement area. The amount of $900. $924.50.
That's what I thought Monday you said it was 500.
$924.
Okay. Misunderstood you Monday.
I apologize. What's the figure already now?
$924.50.
Is there a motion to accept this?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Give it up for discussion.
Okay. Discussion?
I misunderstood the price too. I thought it was 500 or something.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to table this until we can talk about this further. You know, 900 is a lot of money for this. I mean, I don't know. I truly thought it was 500. I misunderstood that with Bill. You know, I think we ought to bring it up in 2 weeks at Monday's meeting and discuss our alternatives more.
What's the alternatives? If you're going to do it, what happens? We open ourselves up to liability.
You're in possible liability.
And if they find this, then we have to proceed with
The proper recommendations to take care of the situation.
Okay.
I mean, it has to do with people's health. Currently, that's really where we're at. And we want to protect our employees as well. So I just, whether it's 500 or 900, I think our employees deserve that, and I think we need to find out what the problem is. So, I don't know that figure would ever change. So.
Did you make a motion to table?
I made a motion to table.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? That motion dies for lack of a second. Those in favor of this motion to approve AGX to do a survey? Aye. 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 Opposed?
No.
Okay.
And I would like to clarify that on the grounds, look, I really care about employees. That's not the point at all. if there is another, I expressed concern about what the humidity level are there, or whether with the dehumidifiers or alders, three in that department. My only concern there is if everything's working properly and we check out easy things first. You know, diagnose it, and check out the easiest, most cost-effective things first. My concern is not hurting an employee. I just want to do the right, most cost-effective way, okay? Thanks.
Next item, John.
Second thing I have today would be a change order for the government center annex. It would be GC6 foundation saw cutting. This would be in addition to the original contract of $12,052. Asking your approval and the chief clerk to sign off on that.
Is there a motion to approve this change order?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Lastly, I have a change order for GC7. This would be eliminating the tear off of the roof insulation on the government center building, and this would be a credit for $32,118. I would need approval and
I'll make the motion.
to sign off on that.
Is there a second to that one?
I'll second it.
That's the kind we like, where we save it. Go ahead.
I'd like to say this. We've got a construction manager, Thompson and Williams and Ken Cramner. I really appreciate, this is what we hired them for and this is what we're doing. What this came about is they put changing all the insulation in the bid on the total roof of this government center. Well, they determined that we only, when they looked at it, it doesn't need all replaced. They just have to replace the areas that maybe are defective, and they're gonna add an inch to that, which is good. They have to use the same product, but they're adding an inch because of building codes. So they can't change the product, but they can add an inch of the same exact kind of foam. So I really appreciate what Ken Cramner did here. And why change something or why waste time and materials? So I'm very happy that they caught this. It's for the benefit of all of us, and we're not wasting materials. So thank you very much.
Okay, did we vote on that?
No, you have a motion and a second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks,
Thanks, John. Yes.
Thank you.
Next
Any
under,
questions for John before he leaves? Anna? Tom? Okay.
under Human Services, Children and Youth Agency, Jody Sanders.
Good morning, Commissioners. First, I have a request for your approval of 4 additional contracts for Children and Youth and Juvenile Probation Department. These contracts are for multiple levels of services. The first one being Bethesda Children's Home, Lake Run Lutheran Services, Vision Quest, and White Deer Run. I request your approval.
Are these all renewals?
These are all renewals.
Okay, I think we can vote on them all together, can't we?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
My next agenda item is slightly out of the ordinary. As BT mentioned in his public comment, as you know, late last year, the Pennsylvania State Legislature passed a series of new legislation in response to the Governor's Task Force on Child Protection. As BT said, the Jerry Sandusky scandal prompted this, but in reality, child abuse is happening in near epidemic proportions in this country and even in this community. Just between 2012 and 2013, we saw a 4% rise and increase in cases, and 2014 is looking even higher. We are very happy that the legislature has taken these steps to help keep children safe, and we want to make sure we do a good job. One intent of the new law is to have the children and youth system oversee all the different investigations that are occurring in law enforcement, as BT said, and also with schools. With this comes many added responsibilities to our agency. As a result of this, I asked my Assistant Director, Charlie Johns, to convene an implementation committee made up of our staff and a representative from the District Attorney's Office. I tasked them with 4 major issues. First, to research and make recommendations for our needs-based plan and budget, which is due this week. Second, to create or adjust any of our policies and procedures. Third, to train our staff. And then lastly, to create an external communication plan. Today's presentation will be only about our staffing needs for our budget. There will be future presentations due to the fact that there will be a lot of public awareness and education needed once the legislation does go into effect at the end of this year. With that said, I'm going to turn over the podium to Charlie Johns to present the research and results that the committee found.
Morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Yeah, good morning.
I will begin on continuing basically what the child protective legislation amendments are. And so these were, as BT pointed out earlier, a group of laws that were recommended by the governor-appointed task force in response to the Jerry Sandusky sexual abuse scandal. There were 20 pieces of legislation packaged with this. The legislation includes various law changes, including crimes code changes, CPSL amendments, appeals, and even information sharing amendments. These were signed by the governor in December of 2013 with varied effective dates starting January of 2014 through December 31st of 2014. And the largest areas of impact will be that December 31st date. And those include the definitions of abuse and perpetrator expansion, increases in mandated reporting, and Child Welfare Information Solution, which is a computer program that will be able to share child abuse information statewide. Next, we'll look at the intent of the child protective legislation amendments. First, they were to strengthen our ability to better protect children from abuse and neglect by expanding definitions of child abuse and perpetrator. Prior to these amendments, some incidents of child abuse were not investigated by children and youth based on a narrow definition of perpetrator. Many of these investigations were law enforcement only, and some of them were not investigated at all. It's to streamline and clarify mandatory child abuse reporting processes. This eliminates up the chain reporting, which, as you can remember, was one of the biggest problems in the Jerry Sandusky scandal, where they have the situation of, I tell my supervisor who's in charge to tell. And this does away with that. It promotes a team approach to investigating crimes against children. It enhances team communication and pooling of resources. It supports the use of technology for tracking by improving information sharing statewide. Next, I'll discuss the CPLAs on County Children and Youth Agency and the impact. It expanded the definition of child abuse from serious physical injury with impairment to bodily injury with substantial pain. Basically, it lowers the abuse threshold. It expanded the definition of perpetrator to include nearly everyone who cares for children. It mandated us to respond faster in certain situations. It mandated a administrative review of abuse cases, and previously it only involved the caseworker and the supervisor. It mandated our involvement in child custody to the point that we will be responsible to report child welfare involvement to the courts in custody filings. It increased the number of mandated reporters, basically to where it could be any adult with direct contact with children. And it even goes into specific rules to the utmost extent of even public librarians and religious healers, just to give a couple examples. It mandated the reporting of infants who are born addicted or in withdrawal or have a fetal alcohol spectrum. And it mandates all medical professionals to report that information. It also mandated the implementation of CWIS, which, as I pointed out earlier, is that computer program that will allow us to share information from county to county statewide. And also, it adds in new requirements and timeframes for data submission to the state. And we have our own implementation team with that in our office, and that actually starts in October. Next, I will begin to discuss the local impact of the Child Protective Legislative Amendments. So as Joyce pointed out, a committee was created, and we researched multiple cases from every other month over the course of 13-14. We felt as a committee that this was enough of a sample size to create the data that we needed. We evaluated how many referrals that were screened out would now require an investigation, and we evaluated how many cases would require an abuse investigation under the new laws. The totals that you'll see on the next slide include the changes in definitions, PFA added abuses, and an estimate on increase in mandated reporting and awareness. This slide will depict what typical months of referrals will look like post-CPLA. So a typical month for us currently is 50 to 70 cases. After the CPLAs, we're estimating that a typical month will be 70 to 90 cases. Just to compare some data, last year we opened 707 total cases. This year we're projected to open 800. This slide doesn't include the additional areas of responsibility that are not yet measurable, and I'll cover those in the next slide. Also, this slide doesn't include basically our neglect cases. These are all increases in abuse cases. They're basically two different types of cases that we open. Based on the data presented in this slide, 2 additional caseworkers would be needed to handle this increased load. Now I'll discuss the not yet measurable portions of the CPLAs. First of which is student abuse. Under the CPLAs, school personnel will be considered perpetrators. It will no longer have its own separate designation under the law. We're attempting to do research on this, and we're trying to determine the impact, but we have yet to get a clear picture on that. Emotional abuse. Basically with this, there is now an expanded definition of what emotional abuse is. And we're going to work with our community partners to estimate the impact of that and develop appropriate responses. There will be accelerated response times and additional on-call responsibilities. Basically, we need more staff available for investigations. And time off and comp time policies contribute to the lack of available staff, and we believe that converting to overtime over a period of time may help us with having more staff available. And mandated information sharing for child custody. Custody filings are on the rise, and there were 565 of them last year. This will take additional caseworker time to communicate information to the court. Just for an example, a recent request took 1/2 a day of caseworkers' time without testimony. These additional responsibilities could justify the request of up to 2 more caseworkers. Next, we'll look at increased management responsibilities. As I mentioned earlier, there's going to be an administrative review of indicated abuse cases. And the state indicates that it must be an upper level management person. We estimate that this will take 1.5 hours per review. Last year there were 41 indicated abuse cases. We have this already implemented, and we're starting to study the impact. There's increased demands for supervision of all staff, especially by agency administration, specifically mentioning the need for written policies, increased education and implementation of these responsibilities, and coaching of best practice casework. There's an increased amount in duration of complaint investigations, and we feel that if we have more cases, there will be more complaints in some of the work that we do. And just to give an example to the community, it actually takes weeks to resolve some of these complaints, and it's mainly done by administration. And there's an increased need for quality assurance, and we believe that if this need is met, some of those complaints may be reduced to ensure that we're using best practice casework. Also, CWIS. This requires a daily upfeed to OCYF, and we want to make sure that that information is upfed to the state is appropriate and meets the timelines, and it has to be management monitored. and coordination of multidisciplinary teams. There's an increased need for coordination of meetings and education on how to do so. Next, I thought it would be beneficial to see what other county responses are to the child protective legislation amendments. So what are these responses of other counties? First, we'll look at a sample of Western Region counties. The intent of this is to show that our planned response to the CPLAs is conservative and appropriate to our county's needs. The following examples are based on the most recent information I have, and the methods in which these counties came up with these requests are unknown. So now we'll look at a sample of Western Region counties. Just a few things to note on this slide. Beaver County, by comparison to us, already has 37 caseworkers and 8 casework supervisors and 3 casework managers.
Compared to our, how many, Charlie?
I didn't write that. We have 27 caseworkers, Commissioner, 5 supervisors, and 1 assistant director.
And just so people know, this, our population is about 185,000, so it's a little high.
Yeah, and I indicate the populations in parentheses on this slide.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just also to note, Washington County, who is slightly bigger than us, but still their staff complement is 44 caseworkers and 9 casework supervisors. So now we'll start to take a look at Butler County's planned response. And I have to note here that in the past 5 years that I've been assistant director, I've been approached multiple times about adding staff. And I've always responded that you need real data and real rationale to add staff because it is a serious matter, and I understand that. You just can't say that you need more workers and come and ask for them. So this graphic represents the approach that I took with my committee. The request that I'm going to make, the request that I'm going to present, is our best answer to how we can be compliant with these new laws and best meet the needs of abused and neglected children and their families. Now I'll be discussing our salary board request. And just to describe to the community and the commissioners how we started to formulate this. There is no, even though these laws take effect at the end of December, there are no new monies for them until November of 2015. So we must work within our current budget until then. So with that said, the agency has an unfilled management position that can be utilized and reorganize other positions temporarily. I'll discuss how we wish to utilize that position in the next slide. And also, in our current budget year, in the upcoming budget year, we are requesting 2 additional caseworkers in November of 2015. And this request is currently being made to OCYF. If and when these positions are needed, the salary board will be approached with the supporting data for them. And I want to reiterate to the salary board that we will not request these positions to be filled unless there is a data-supported need. And now I'll discuss our current request. So we are requesting that a casework manager be added to our staff complement. The casework manager would oversee the intake supervisors and intake screeners. This move will permit for a limited reorganization of our agency so that we can meet the needs of the CPLAs with the workers that we already have. This reorganization would also address the capacity issues of the nearly 20 additional cases that I mentioned earlier. The casework manager would oversee further implementation of the CPLAs, as well as other administrative and quality assurance tasks that are mandated in these new laws. This position would also allow for the expansion in the future without hiring additional management staff. And now just to summarize, we believe that the addition of a casework manager and reorganization of our agency as presented will be a conservative method of attempting to meet the many new requirements of the CPLAs. And I just wanted to assure the board once again that we'll keep them aware of the impact of the child protective legislation amendments once implementation occurs. And I also wanted to thank the board for your time during this process and your consideration of this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, for that information. You did a very good job.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a statement on this. I want to tell people what I envision on this. First of all, I'm really pleased with, they came up with a conservative, I believe it's a conservative way of addressing this problem at children and youth, and I really would like to commend Joyce Ainsworth and Charlie Johns on that. I really appreciate that. A lot of people know I'm fiscally conservative. What they're addressing here is, everybody says about the Jerry Sandusky case, but we have, this is really a big issue. We've had a problem for some time, and our children are, you know, there's the internet and Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff, and that's all nice, except that lets people come into our homes and recruit our children for, well, I don't know what word to use there, so I'm going to drop that, for their own corruption. Okay, sorry, that sort of frustrates me. Anyway, we have this problem, we have to address it. It's just not all about Jerry Sandusky. You know, everybody's seen in the news where we have different areas that weren't met, where people are taking advantage of our children. I won't get into specifics, but it has been well documented in the press in different areas, and we haven't addressed this problem. And then Joyce Ainsworth told me the other day that these problems, the children that were abused, they come back as abusers. It's sort of like teaching them how to do it. And she said it was 80%. My jaw dropped. Okay, so, you know, this has been not done for a long time. The state legislator, they're not trying to, I give them a lot of compliment here. We have a problem. It hasn't been addressed in a while, but we're addressing it now. A central system to coordinate, so we can't say, oh, we missed it, the police did it. It's a central state agency, local, CYS and the police, and we're coordinating it. Terrific idea. So the kids don't fall through the cracks. We need this. We're taking corrective action here. I applaud the governor and the state legislature for doing what we have to do here. Now our CYS has come up with a conservative approach. I really appreciate them doing that. Charlie John did lots of research into this, and I'd like to bring forth this proposal too. You know, we're allowed to use shale money. We'll talk taxes. You know, we're allowed to use shale money for, and we're lucky in Butler County. We have about $1.5 million general funds that go into the general fund from shale money that we're allowed to use from general services. I'd like to ask the other commissioners if they'd want to allot money to do this. I can't think of any better use throughout the county for shale money that won't come off people's properties than this issue. This is a very good issue, and I hope the other commissioners, we don't have to decide that today, but I'd like them to think about that we can allot some of the shale money so it doesn't come off people's property tax. So we're very lucky Butler County has that option. A lot of counties do not. So I'd just like to say that I'm very thankful that the state did this, and we're moving in the right direction, I think, okay?
Thank you, Jim. I too would like to commend our Children and Youth Department. As you saw in those slides, I know we covered a lot of data, but I think some of the important data that we need to consider is that the fact that next door Beaver County, who has a lower population, has 10 more caseworkers. Washington County had, what, 44 or something like that. And they're not that much bigger than we are. So our department is running lean and mean. And again, we appreciate what you do. Your people work hard taking care of the kids in Butler County, and it's greatly appreciated.
I also would like to say, I sit on Joyce's board as a commissioner, and our committee does an absolutely fantastic job. And in the state, our Children and Youth Department is considered one of the top ones in the entire state. And it's because of Joyce and her staff, meaning all the caseworkers, have done a really fantastic job for Butler County. And I think they do represent us well, and they are doing everything they can to take care of our children. Thank you.
Okay, Amy?
Next, under Human Services, Community Action and Development, Janine Kennedy.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Nate.
We are requesting to ratify an addendum to the 2013-2014 agreement with Lawrence County Community Action for the Supportive Services for Veteran Families program known as SSVF. As a result of federal monitoring to the SSVF program, it was suggested to add additional language regarding program modifications and conflict of interest policies to the contract agreements. There are no material changes made to the agreement. We ask your approval.
Is there a motion? So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries.
That was yes from me too, I'm sorry, I didn't say anything there, okay?
Next item I have, we are requesting approval to submit the 2014-2015 Medical Assistance Transportation Program Participation Grant Agreement and Assurance of Compliance and Allocation Acknowledgement to the PA Department of Public Welfare. Butler County's allocation for the 2014-15 year is $2,252,564. This is just standard paperwork they send us every year to submit for our medical assistance grant money. We ask your approval.
I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Question?
Go ahead.
Is it going up or down, that figure?
This has actually gone down from last year's initial allocation. They had us adjust our budget after the third quarter. We ended last year at expenses 2.162, $2,162,000. That were our actual for 13-14. So they're giving us a little bit more. We projected the budget at 2.2, so they pretty much gave us what our budget was, but there's a little cushion in there.
We were in the black though, right?
Oh, yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
I would like to emphasize we're taking care of both ends of the spectrum here. And the previous presenter there, Charlie, talked about youth, and now we're talking about helping our elderly population get the necessary medical attention that they need. So it's very good that we take care of our population in Butler County. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you. Permission to be excused?
Yes, definitely.
Next, under Human Services, Carmine Scotis.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Carmine.
Commissioner McCary, as you were saying, we're talking about youth and adults, and I'm here to talk about attorneys.
Oh, that's kind of a bad subject.
Jeez.
And
Our attorney isn't here, I wouldn't have said that.
I'll hear about it later. The Butler County Mental Health Department has contracts with 2 attorneys to provide legal representation and mental health commitment hearings subject to the Pennsylvania Mental Health Procedures Act. Attorney Joy Maffey represents clients in mental health commitment hearings and is paid through the courts. Attorney Corey Dunn represents the mental health program at the same hearings and is paid through our office. Their payments have been $1,500 per month under a retainer since 1999 and have not been increased for 14 years. In view of the extensive time period since the last increase, the amount of time they spend on hearings, and using as a baseline for comparison the $60 an hour we spend on court-appointed attorneys, Mr. Holman and I are requesting authorization to amend their contracts to pay $2,000 per month beginning September the 1st. Mr. Holman and I agree that continuing the retainer at the new rate is the most cost-effective arrangement for the county, as opposed to a fee-for-service rate, since the hearings also include travel time, meeting with physicians, hospital staff, patients, and family members. There's a lot of extra time involved in that, and we think that going with retainer is still the best opportunity for the county.
Motion to approve this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Carmine, how much more time would you think that these people are spending than they did back in 1999 when they occurred? Do you have any idea?
We know the amount of hearings have probably increased a lot. And we also have multiple sites that they have to go to. So we are seeing a significant increase in time to say it's like 20%, 50%. I couldn't say offhand, but my feeling overall is that it is a noticeable increase.
So I guess where I'm coming from here is, we're not really giving them a raise. We're paying them for more services that they're providing.
Right, and also you have to take into account, their fee hasn't changed for 14 years.
Mhm.
So with inflation and everything else, I think it's Tom and I talked about this, when we had analyzed some of the information we had, and we think this is still a fair arrangement for the county and for the attorneys.
But their workload has increased.
Yes.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carmelita.
Next, under Recycling and Waste Management, Cheryl Kelly.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
As part of Act 101 in Pennsylvania, every county is required every 10 years to update their solid waste plan and to secure landfill space for all of its estimated waste that's going to be coming in the next 10 years, municipal solid waste. And you have to request proposals from any facility that's willing to guarantee that space for the county waste. And I did that recently. We received 19 proposals from landfills in Pennsylvania, New York, and Ohio. And some of them will simply serve as backup facilities for others in case there would ever be some kind of catastrophic event. One facility did not meet our criteria, and that was simply because they were trying to reopen, and that permit was, or the application was denied by the DEP. So I'm going to recommend they be eliminated from the signing a contract. So I'm going to recommend that the Board of Commissioners enter into agreements with 18 landfills that submitted proposals. Do you want me to read through that list for the record? Okay. Yes, please. All right. There is Arden Landfill in Washington, PA, Carbon Limestone in Lowellville, Ohio, Chestnut Valley Landfill in McClellantown, PA, Commonwealth Environmental Systems in Higgins, PA, Conestoga Landfill in Morgantown, PA, Green Tree Landfill in Kersey, PA, Highland Landfill in Angelica, New York, Imperial Landfill in Imperial, PA, Bruner Landfill in Zillionople, but that is actually over the county line in Beaver County, it's a Beaver County landfill. Keystone Landfill in Dunmore, PA, McCain Landfill in Kane, PA, Monroeville Landfill in Monroeville, PA, Mostoller Landfill in Somerset, PA, Northwest Sanitary Landfill in West Sunbury here in Butler County, Sandy Run Landfill in Hopewell, PA, Seneca Landfill here in Evans City, Valley Landfill in Irwin, PA, Modern Landfill in York, PA, and the one to be eliminated is Tri-County Landfill in Grove City. And just to be clear, this is where the only thing involved in these agreements is these are the landfills that haulers can take their waste to. And Butler County has always had an open type of solid waste plan, meaning that if in the future Tri-County should get a permit or any other landfill would wish to be included in our solid waste plan, there's a mechanism to petition the county to be included, and then I would be back in a public meeting to have the board approve that new facility being included. Can I ask your approval?
Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, discussion?
No, we did talk about this at Monday's meeting. There's a per ton fee. I didn't know if we wanted to table this until.
That's on item 3.
Say again?
That's on item 3.
Oh, I am.
Per ton that the county gets is on
Oh, okay.
item.
I apologize. I think we had it last time. Maybe. Okay, sorry about that. I'll second it.
Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item I have is the request to award a 5-year contract to ECS&R of Cochranton, PA, to handle our hazardous waste and electronics collections. As you know, these collections have been going on since 2010. We're now up to 14 collections a year, and so far we've netted 101 tons of hazardous waste and 109 tons of electronics waste from county area residents. 2 proposals were received, and they were from equally qualified contractors. So basically, once I made sure that they completely qualified and were DEP approved, it boiled down to price. And I calculated the prices a couple of different ways. They had to put in a proposal of what they would charge by the pound. So what I did was I used last year's figures of what we collected to see what it would cost next year. to hold the same number of collections at the prices. There was significant price difference. And just to be absolutely sure, I cut that amount in half, the pounds that I used to calculate, just to see what would happen if we would collect less, and it was still a significant difference. And so I'm gonna, do I need to read through all these prices or there was a list submitted, and I don't know if we can go by that or if I need to go through.
We're going with low bid, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to read the others.
Okay. So it's based on those prices per pound that ECR submitted. I would like to request entering into an agreement with ECS&R Copper and 10 PA.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Now, the third item is also part of our solid waste plan and part of Act 101. Any county that has a landfill is permitted to negotiate with the landfills in the county to collect a fee on the waste that they're importing from other areas. Butler County's fee has always been 35 cents per ton, and I wanted to recommend that we renew that agreement with Northwest Sanitary Landfill and Seneca Landfill.
Okay, we've talked about that some on Monday and also between Monday and today. We are one of the lower ones. We charge 35 cents. Elk County's 50 cents. Erie's $1.50. Westmoreland's lower, they're 25. Allegheny's 25. Schuylkill's $3. Berks is $3, and York is $2. However, in talking with some of the landfill operators, they have contracts with the haulers at the current 35 cent per, is that per ton?
Yes.
Per ton fee. So if we were to raise that today, or change it, then that would go on the backs of the owners of the landfills, Northwest and Seneca landfill, because they can't change their contracts in the middle of a contract. So I would like to suggest that we hold off on this until we have time to explore some way of raising it. I do believe we should raise it because it's been at this fee ever since day one. But I don't think we ought to do it until the landfill operators' contracts are up for renewal so that they can pass it on to their customers. That's my opinion on it.
I'd like to say this, I absolutely agree with that. I really appreciate you, Bill, checking that out, because we certainly don't want to hurt the landfill operators in Butler County. But I'd like to add what Bill said. Look, there's some counties, I want you to know this, you know, we owe it to the people of Butler County. There's some counties that don't have, I think you'll be surprised at this, that don't have any landfills at all. And they are Crawford County to our north, Mercer County to our north, none at all. They haul it to other counties. Now, should we get some sort of fee for them bringing their trash into our county? Yes. So the two are, there's 5 here that are really, you know, Crawford, Mercer, Lawrence, Armstrong, 0. Clarion counties, no landfills, and Venango. I mean, wow. They can just dump their stuff here without any increase. And how much approximately since we started? How long's it been?
I'm sorry.
How long's it been
We've
since?
been collecting that fee.
Yeah, approximately.
That was prior to me, I would say 1990 probably.
Since 1990, it's not been raised at all. It's on the verge of being ridiculous, okay? We're not being fair to the taxpayers and the people of Butler County not to get some sort of fees. But I do agree with Bill. I'm glad he checked that out.
I would ask for a motion to table this until we can study it further.
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you, and permission to be excused.
Yes, thanks, Cheryl.
Thanks.
Next, under Planning Commission, the Bridge Program, Kevin Gray.
Morning, Kevin.
This morning I'll be asking for 3 approvals. The first one is a request for the solicitor and I to negotiate agreements with Jefferson, Clinton, and Clay Townships for culvert replacements, their culvert replacements in their township. And they would be done whenever the county has time and whenever the townships have funding available at no cost to the county.
And let's emphasize, there's no cost to the county. The townships are paying our crew
Yes.
to do this, and they're furnishing the culverts that we are going to place for them.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor say
And I'd like to say this, Bill brought this up at Monday's meeting. The culverts are huge. It's not a 3-foot pipe under the road. You can drive your car through some of
Yeah,
them.
some
So
of
that's
them are-
why
some of
they
them
don't
are
have
very
the technical ability to do these, just so you know that, okay? Thank you.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is an approval agreement with Cargill Incorporated for rock salt for next season. This is a bid that was done through the SHACOG, which is Council of Governments, and the price was $79 a ton. They put out the bid, they only had one bidder back. That was on the low end of the range of other bids that have been seen across the state and across a couple other states too. Erie County was at over 100, was at $95 a ton. Beaver County was at $85 a ton. Ohio had a range from $70 to $140 a ton. Some of those areas did not receive bids at all. Same thing in a third of the municipalities in Illinois did not receive bids at all in that area. But the range was from $70 a ton to $140 a ton. And we were at $79 a ton.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll gladly second that. Thank you for your work there, Kevin.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And last is an agreement with the Department of the Interior for, they would like to place 2 weather and flood gauges at, near 2 of our county bridges. One in Lancaster Township on Crab Run that goes over, well, it's on Crab Run Road that goes over Crab Run. And the other one is in West Liberty Borough, and that one goes over Hogue Run, and it's on Mayor Road. And
You can just ask the people who live there to go call when they're cricks.
you can actually get online. One of them is going to be live, so you can actually go onto the website and look up the flood gauges on those. These are small ones. They're not that big of a flood area.
There's no cost to the county.
There's no cost to the county at all. We're just giving the agreement to basically go across our property to put up the flood gauges.
Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Next, under Planning Commission CDBG program, Wendy Leslie.
Good morning.
Good morning, Wendy.
First item, we're asking your approval to reallocate $4,837 of Jefferson Township's 2010 administrative funds, and this is for removal of architectural barriers in Laura Durr Park, and this is to purchase a pool lift for wheelchair-bound persons. It enables them to get into the pool without other assistance. The public hearing was held on Monday, August 11th at 6:50. That was right before the regular monthly meeting, to allow comment and input from the public. There were no comments received. These are Jefferson Township CDBG funds, and there are no county dollars involved. We're asking for your approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second item, on Monday, August 11th, we opened 7 bids for the Eau Claire Borough Sidewalk Curb Cut Project. And I will give you the results of the 3 lowest bids. The lowest was Mahoney Builders of Newcastle at $42,226.25. Second lowest was Joe Palmieri Construction of Pittsburgh, PA at $47,316. And the third lowest was J.C. Lee Construction and Supply of Petrolia, PA at $57,000. After reviewing the bids and making sure all required documents were in order and discussing the bids with the engineer, I'm asking to award the bid to Mahoney Builders Incorporated of Newcastle, PA for a total of $42,226.25. This will be paid for by CDBG funds, so there's no county dollars involved. We ask for your approval.
I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Last item, on Monday, August 11th, at the agenda setting, we opened 2 bids for the Penn Township Church Road paving project. The bid was broken down into two options. The first option was paving and shoulder work or berm work. The second option was just for paving, and the results of those bids were Weiss Asphalt Products and Paving of Butler, PA. The first option was $186,298.98. The second option was $162,586.30. The second bid was from Glen O. Hawbaker Incorporated of Grove City. Their first option was $228,244.25, and their second option was $206,618. After further review of the bids and making sure all required paperwork has been completed and discussing the bids with Penn Township, they would like to use the option one and get all the work done that they had planned on doing originally. So we're asking for your approval to award the bid to Weiss Asphalt Products and Paving of Butler, PA for a total of $186,298.98. Now, these are Penn Township CDBG funds, so there's no county dollars involved. So we ask for your approval.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I'd just like to say this, sometimes we don't get bids, or, these contractors, we got really good fair prices for this. It's CBDG funds, and we're happy, I'm happy about this, it's nice. But thank you very much.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Under Commissioners, our first item is your consent to the sale of tax parcel number 400-S1-B9 on Wall Avenue in Evans City Borough for $2,894.87 to James X. with authorization for the chairman to sign. And here to answer any questions is Janet Mentel from the Tax Claim Bureau.
Janet, do you have any comments on this?
I do not, other than maybe we should table it till Solicitor English can be present.
This is a tough issue because Mr. Mahosky there has felt that he has owned that property, but on the other hand, taxes have not been paid on since, 1985, did you say?
Actually, I'm looking at the statements prior to 1985.
And Mr. Eckstein has followed all the procedures to make this bid. I think that as commissioners, and I talked to our solicitor yesterday while he was in the delivery room with his wife, just before he went in, and he said that we should approve this because all the items of the law have been followed here. So I would ask for a motion to approve this.
Can I make a statement on that?
What's that, the motion?
No, I'm sorry.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I will second it.
Now, let me say this, that when it comes down to it, if it's proven that you already own that property, it would have to fall to you.
That's fine. I was gonna say, seeing I've already maintained it for the past 12 years, I would be more than willing to pay the back taxes on it and just take care of it, because like I said, as Mr. Eckstein said, I have a shed on it, but I also have another building that's on it that he did tell you about. So, I mean, there's a lot more involved in this. I'd be more than willing to pay the back taxes today and get it all taken care of, and that way it won't be any problem for anybody. And Mr. Eckstein, I understand he's fixing his house. If he wants access to that property to put his scaffold all up, that's fine. I have no problem with that because he has been fixing it up. And, I'd like to see it, but there's a lot more involved in just a piece of property because he has multiple accesses to the street and such. But, I mean, it would make every life a lot simpler for everybody if I could just, I will literally walk over right now and pay them and get this straightened out if it would please the commission, and there would be no more issue with it at all. Because as I understand it, we were understanding it, and we had just found out this morning how far this goes back. And so nobody knew. It's just a classification of misplaced paperwork and how things were done. I mean, like I said, I'm more than willing to walk over right now and pay the back taxes and any fees that are required to get things transferred over at this time.
Jim, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment on that. Under no fault of the three of us, we're trying to rectify a dilemma. We have 400 of these properties.
I wish to rectify it now.
400 of these county properties that are under the same problem. Now, this is not the fault of these commissioners. Our solicitor, it was being done wrong before. We can't undo the past. There's been a lot of properties that's never been paid taxes on for similar amounts of times, less amount of times. We're trying to do 80 this year and come up with Judge Moran, and we're making real progress in that. I congratulate Janet Mattel on that, and Mike, our solicitor, for solving, look, we can't undo the past, but we can change the future. Now, here's the part. I really made sure, I got legal advice, I was the county commissioner, I wanted to pay all back taxes, everything that was owed. You know, that'll set the fair market value for the property. That's what it does. When you pay that price and it goes through that, it's going to raise the market value. So you pay the fair taxes on that. Now, if we do every 400 of these and it was bid on over 30 years ago at a judicial sale. The title was cleared. It languished in the repository, just like a lot of these other 400 properties, at nobody's fault. But every time one of these comes up, if somebody follows the procedure, whether it be me or Mark Krasinski or any other thing, and we have bidding wars, and we're opening Pandora's box, okay? We're opening Pandora's box. We're going to languish this in the court for 4 or 5 years, and we're going to multiply it by 400 cases. But maybe all of them won't be contested. Look, I tried to do the right thing. I'd be glad to work out the problem of his 2 buildings on the property. I do realize that part of his building is about 2 feet over on this 10-foot strip of land. I'm willing to work that out too. But I don't think we ought to set legal precedent for not letting these properties go and get them back on the tax rolls. That's my opinion.
Wait a
minute. Go ahead, Bill.
He's made the offer to pay the taxes and let you, if you want to put scaffolding up. He has taken care of that piece of property all these years. He didn't realize that that piece of property was there, okay, and the taxes weren't paid. He's offered to pay exactly what you're willing to pay for it, and
That was put up for auction though, sir.
Wait, Mark.
That was put up for auction.
Mark, you're out of order.
I just wanted to say, if that's the way I understand what you said.
Yes, sir.
Anna?
I would like to add, before
Please come
coming,
up to the microphone, Anna.
I'm going to tell you right now. Cash.
I would like to add, before coming to this meeting, I met with me and Mr. Mahaffey, met with the director of mapping, and we traced the deeds back to 1954, and it does show that 10-foot by 145 strip. With it coming up through the years, it is under William Slagle's name.
And who is William Slagle?
That is the person that has not paid the taxes for the past, like, since 1969.
Well, my understanding was that Mr. Mahaski has a deed to that.
Well, and like I said, in working with the director of mapping, there was, like, looking through the 3x5 cards and the deeds. He was looking at an assessment record card. And I also got with Chris Savage, the chief assessor, and he said somewhere along the lines there must have been a typographical error, because that's when he went to the 3x5 cards to clarify the issue. And I do have my copies of everything that we were doing over there.
Okay. Any other discussions?
The only other discussion is, look, it's ridiculous to say, I offered Janet to pay the very next day on a cashier's check. This is ridiculous. What Dale said was, look, I'm going to have a court challenge on this. I'm not going to let it go. Okay, so right after this, if this takes place with the other commissioners, I'm going to have a court challenge. So it's not going to happen today. It can, but I'm going to fight it. Okay?
I have a, what's part of my
You're out of order.
I think we're set.
I'm sorry, sir. I feel it's my obligation as your chief clerk to make a comment before you make a vote that relates to the legal statutes that cover this vote. and this is for Mr. Eckstein's benefit as well, that he is required under the law to abstain, which he has said he would do under this, for this particular item. And thank you, I was going to ask for that written declaration of conflict of interest. And now that we do have that written declaration of conflict of interest, he is within his legal rights to abstain on a main vote. If the vote is a tie, he is also allowed under the law, having declared that written conflict of interest, to vote to break that tie. I just wanted to make that clear to the public in interest of transparency in the law involved.
Thank you,
Let me
Amy.
ask for just 1 brief second, cousin. I understand Mr. Eckstein did great. We just found out about this yesterday, late afternoon. We're trying to make it right. All I'm doing is asking you to make it right. I understand Mr. Eckstein wants that piece of property, but I've been maintaining it for 12 years. I just want you to give me the right to have a chance to do this. Like I said, it was a misunderstanding. I'm willing to pay it right now, even though I did not own it before, but we've been taking care of it. I just wanted the ability to make it right to judgment. And, you know, I understand what Mr. Eckstein's whole thing, like he wants it in the whole 9 yards, but a typographical error is all I'm asking for, and I will take care of it right now, as soon as we walk out of this meeting.
All right, we've discussed this on
I
tonight.
can say one. I got one.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to say this. You know, I don't want to have a bidding war on this. This is, look, I find it amazing. He says, at first he said he owned the property the whole time. Then he says he'd be glad to pay the back taxes and have a bidding war.
Typographical error.
Okay, that doesn't make any sense to me. Either you're owned about property and you want to fight that battle, or you know, you can't have it both ways. And I just want to, can I have the floor?
Yes, Heath?
I'd just like to say this, I checked out the legal precedent. You have to maintain the property or have, to do that, you have to have it for more than 20 years. I checked out with an attorney, that will not hold up. That it's your property if you just cut the grass. That does have no legal precedent. You have to have 21 years, over 20 years. He hasn't even lived there that long. So that is not going to hold up in a court of law. And are we going to fight over this on all these 400 properties?
Just this one.
I'm done.
Okay. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Did you vote?
Yes, I vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
And again, I would make the comment, I'm doing this in the advice of our solicitor.
What did Dale vote?
Aye.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Eckstein abstained. Correct.
Mr. Eckstein abstained. Okay. Next item, Amy.
Next item is the ratification of the acknowledgement of the transfer portion of a collateral assignment of operations transfer agreement between Sunnyview Operating LLC and Janina Healthcare Finance LLC. And as the solicitor explained on Monday at the agenda setting meeting, the new operators of Sunnyview have applied for a line of credit with Janina Healthcare Finance, and this agreement will allow the county to transfer directly to that finance company any additional monies that are coming in that are owed to the operators, but that would still be coming in the county's name, so that it can go directly to that company. It otherwise has no effect on any other agreements that we currently have standing in regard to the sale of Sunnyview.
Is there a motion to that effect? I'll make them. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries.
The last item today is a request from the Housing Authority of Butler County for Act 137 funds. They're asking for the county's support and commitment of $75,000 in matching funds from the Act 137 Recorder of Deeds fees and the application to the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency for the Pennsylvania Housing Affordability and Rehabilitation Enhancement Funds Affordable Housing Program, known as FARE, P-H-A-R-E. The Redevelopment Authority of the County of Butler proposes to submit an application to the Housing Finance Agency for the owner-occupied residential rehabilitation program in support of the Butler County Blight Mitigation Initiative located in central eastern Butler County. This is Clearfield, Dongle, and Summit Townships. The applications for the FARE funds are due this Friday, August 15, 2014. We ask your approval.
I think we should mention that Act 137 funds are funds that come out of the Recorder of Deeds office. Whenever you file a deed or any other document similar to that, you pay a fee, and that is what goes into the Act 137 funds. So this is not general fund money.
And sir, one more comment, I apologize. This would be the passing of Resolution 2014-18 and 2014-19 in order to make this application.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And I'd just like to say this does help people, the working class or real low income, improve their property or after a 5-year time period. So after a 5-year time period, the money is, they don't have to pay it back, but it lets the working class, this isn't a handout, it's a handout, okay? So it's a good thing. Thanks.
Okay, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all for new business.
Is there a motion to approve the budgetary transfers?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I have a motion to approve the new hires. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the travel requests?
Okay. I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the requisitions?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the check registers?
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those in favor, those opposed, motion carries. Conference time with the meeting. We'll start with Tom today for a change.
I have nothing today, thank you.
Hey, are you sure? Are you well today?
Maybe later, not now.
Okay. Kayla.
Same, not right now, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
We do have salary board.
Oh, you're about salary board. I wasn't even aware of it. Okay, we have salary board. We usually have it first, so I forgot about it.
Yeah, they're having an operation.
I have to get to an operation at Shady Side Hospital. If there's anything the commissioner wants to give me, if he could leave it at the desk, I'll get it tomorrow morning. Thank you. Oh, okay, okay.
Hey, thanks for coming today. Okay, Charles, what? Clark. Okay. Thank you.
I just want to let you know we did submit the election here. That's the only I filed a petition on Friday. I can't actually stamp my letter, so she has whatever very specifically says. That's really exciting, so congratulations.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he's got a good reason for being there.
I agree.
You can man this camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know if you're up to the standards, but I'm not. You're good. Yeah.
Library before.
That being said, okay, so this is our station. That's more than that.
Oh. Yeah, but it's animated film. My brother needs to play every day. May have I'll put it in short.
We should do a story on that.
Here while we fix it up. I lost the renter. Fix it up, I'll go get something else. I'll have to see if the deputies can cite you for litter. Prove their supervisor for case and their agreement to income. That's what I want to do. If salary board takes too long, I've got to leave. I got to get to see that hospital. I may call later.
All right, we'll call to order the meeting of the Butler County Salary Board.
So will we.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Margaret said you must.
Morning, or after, oh no, still morning. I am concerned about adding an additional position. It's just expense, gentlemen. And I know we're all worried about expenses. We're talking 70,000 to 80,000 a year, ongoing forever. We've added 10 or 11 positions, I'm not sure this year so far. I'm not exactly sure on that one. Other than the one that was the maintenance position because we had opened another pod, I don't see it even bringing any revenue. And now I realize most of these positions don't bring revenue in. And, you know, obviously CWS is not going to bring revenue in. And we are getting gas money in from the Shell, which is great, but there's only so much Shell money to go around. That's it. Like I said, I'm cautious about adding positions. So.
All of us are cautious about that, Mark. However, when the state mandates that we have to tighten up our restrictions and the way we handle our business with our children and youth, we're not there to make money. We're there to protect kids.
I know. Like I said, I'm worried about the money.
Okay. We're all worried about money, but we have a job to do also.
And I'd like to just say this real quick. Look, I thought about it. I'd like the other commissioners, and I know they will consider this, using Marcellus Shield money. We do have enough. If we use it wisely, I think we can delegate some to this for now and in the future years. So it won't go on property tax, but I don't make these decisions lightly, but they came up with a good proposal, okay?
Okay, anybody else, Lori?
No, Mr.
We have minutes from our July 23rd meeting. Is there a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carries. Okay, new business.
Yes, under District Attorney, D.A. Goldinger is requesting the funding be changed from the following position effective January 1st of 2014. The victim witness clerk full-time from 50% Bojo, 50% Raza to 40% Bojo and 60% Raza. Ask your approval.
Is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under Human Services, Children and Youth, the creation of one casework manager at $27.75 with benefits and with retirement.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Conference time with the media. Kayla, any questions?
No question.
Tom?
Nothing, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.